One of the most common questions that I get these days anytime I stream is, Sneak, why are you farming mobility or intellect gear? Those are garbage stats, they're useless. Why do you care about that going into Edge of Fate? And the answer is, they're not garbage, they're actually going to be very, very good. Stats are changing in Edge of Fate, and they are being changed to the following. Mobility will now be weapons, doing more weapon damage with the higher stats that you go. Resilience will be changed to health, mainly staying the same at 70 base, and higher you have more flinch resist, and then faster regen, aka who cares. Recov will now be class abilities. Discipline will be grenades. Intellect will now be super, and you do more super damage with higher stats. And then strength will be melee. So most of them are pretty straightforward. Now there's more detail to it, and I'll go into that in a second, but first I want to explain to you guys how armor currently works in Destiny 2, so you understand the basic fundamentals of it, and then we can go into how armor is changing for Edge of Fate, and it will make a lot more sense why I'm doing the things that I'm doing. So we're going to take a random armor piece from my account. Here we have some gloves on my account. There's no stat boost on it from mods, it's just Masterwork, so without the Masterwork, it's 66 base or 78 with Masterwork. Now the way armor works in this game is when you get it to drop, it assigns you a value to that armor piece, in this case 66 base. Now you may have noticed there's two stat spikes on this armor piece, resilience and discipline. Currently, the way the armor system is, it is physically impossible to have both of these stats in the same stat tree on our armor piece. What do I mean by stat trees? So, armor is divided into two trees when it drops. The first tree is mobility, resilience, and recov. The other tree is discipline, intellect, and strength. Now you see I have 28 and 26 in those two big stats respectively. Without the Masterwork, it'd be 26 and 24. Now let's say, hypothetically, you want resilience plus recovery to be 26 and 24. It's physically impossible. It just literally cannot happen. The reason for that is the way armor stats are distributed when they drop on your account. You see those two trees that I mentioned? They get divided into two equal halves when you have armor drop. So, if I have a 66 base piece drop, that means the game is going to divide 33 points to the top tree and 33 points to the bottom tree because that is half of 66. So when I say getting 26 resilience and 24 recov is physically impossible, it quite literally is, because that would be 50 points divided into just the top tree, and that is just not happening. You're not getting an armor piece to drop at 100 base. Now on the flip side, you can, however, get one huge spike into a single stat and then have the rest of the points distributed into the other two stats of that tree. So you hypothetically could get, let's say, 28 resilience and then get 2 points into mobility and then 2 points into recov for a total of 32 points. And then on the bottom tree, you would do the same thing. For 32 points, you could get, let's say, 28 discipline and then 2 points into intellect and 2 points into strength, assuming you got a 64 piece to drop. If it's 66, then you get 1 extra point in each tree. The main reason I'm explaining this is because there's people out there that think, hey, I'm going to go farm armor and then I'm going to get 20 mobility and then 20 intellect and then 20 discipline and like 2 in every other stat, when that is going to be physically impossible to get. So do not set your expectations that high. And just for the record, in legendary armor pieces, the max is 68 without Masterwork, and for exotics, normally it's 70. However, exotics from Shadowkeep and before, I believe, can get a 71 stat roll, so only a few of them can get that, but otherwise 70 base is the maximum total. Now, how is armor going to be changing in Edge of Fate, and why the hell am I farming mobility and intellect gear? The way armor is changing in Edge of Fate is they're bringing out set bonuses for armor, and then how spikes are set in those set bonuses in those armor pieces. So I'm going to just throw on a blurb here on screen from Bungie, and I'll show you these sets right now. So you have Paragon, Grenadier, Specialist, Brawler, Bulwark, and Gunner. And as you can notice, these each have 2 bonuses that are going to have spikes in them. So for example, Paragon's going to have super and melee, super being intellect and melee being strength in this example, right? They're gonna have those dedicated spikes, which means currently in the game right now, you can get mobility plus intellect on your gear. But in Edge of Fate, if you noticed on this list, there is no combination of weapons plus super. You physically cannot get those two as your big spikes. So the idea here is that you're going to combine these new set bonuses and distribution in Edge of Fate with your old armor and mix and match together to create stat distributions that are more into your advantage, so you have more weapons or more super, and then you sprinkle in the rest with whatever build you're doing, grenade build, strength build, etc. Or you just go full-on blast into like 2 stats, so you want to get like 200 intellect and 150 in weapons, or the inverse of 200 mobility and then 150 in super, etc. Now, of course, none of this is mandatory, and this is only for people that want to engage in build crafting and have the best possible builds, or to prep for the best possible builds that they can for the expansion. So that's completely up to you. But if you do want to do that, here is the best way to prep for that with armor drops in the current version of Destiny. By far and away, the #1 method that literally everyone in the game can do, assuming you're not a brand new player, is going to be failsafe in the helm. All you got to do is get these Echo engrams, go to failsafe, and then decrypt focus the armor pieces right here for 2 engrams and some glimmer. Now, before you decrypt them, you make sure that you head over to your ghost and then put on whatever stat you want. So right now I have glimmer, but instead I'm going to put on my mobility mod. That way I am hoping for a spike in mobility and then some stats in the opposite tree, that means specifically intellect or discipline, right? So I put on mobility, and then I'll give you guys an example of opening one of these engrams right now. And typically they roll pretty high, or at least like a medium roll, like a 64 or something like that. So right here, bang, I have a 20 mobility stat and then a 22 discipline stat. So I can use this for something like a grenade build where I still want my weapons to do damage. And that's it. That's as simple as that is. Now, to farm these engrams, if you have Failsafe's journal from the Season of Echoes in your inventory, the engrams can actually just drop from whatever activities you're doing. So you can passively get them in your engram tracker and see how many that you have. But specifically, if you want to speed farm those engrams, the easiest thing to do is going to be this Arena Breach executable activity, either on regular or on expert. I'm specifically mentioning this activity for 2 main reasons. Number 1, you can get a metric F-ton of glimmer. This is actually my choice of farming glimmer in the game. You can get something like 200k to 250k per run if you know what you're doing in this activity, and it takes like 10 minutes to do. That's a ton of glimmer to get in 10 minutes. And then the other reason is you can get an exotic at the end by dunking into the station at the end of the activity, so you can farm some exotics while you're also getting the Echo engrams. And if you're someone that cares about the glimmer, don't forget you can put on a glimmer tonic right here in this menu, and then go to your Tome of Want and also put on glimmer here. And then once you put on glimmer there, it'll show you can also put on glimmer here, and then you activate your tome and you just get a ton of glimmer. Every time that you dunk in the breach executable activity, you should be getting something like 7,400 glimmer and above. As for other sources, they're kind of scarce. So you can do your weekly run of Pit of Heresy. That also gives you a spike from the final boss as well, but it's not going to be the weekly farmable dungeon until Edge of Fate is already launched, so it's kind of late for that. And then there's also the Pale Heart, where the engrams also roll similar to Failsafe in the spikes department, but they're much harder to farm, and I don't think anybody wants to, lose IQ points running Overthrow 800 times, so there's that. The last method I want to talk about is going to be Grasp of Avarice, specifically on Master Mode. Currently, when this video comes out, Grasp is going to be the weekly rotator dungeon, which means you can farm the Master Mode for Artifice Armor. Now, normally, I would tell you, Artifice Armor is a complete and utter joke in this game right now, but Grasp seems to be literally the only dungeon where it doesn't drop at 59 stat Dogmeat. Unlike Spire the Watcher and Ghost of the Deep and Warlord's Ruin and Duality and blah blah blah, Grasp actually drops decent gear, similar to how Pit of Heresy drops spiky armor. For an example, here's a piece that I got on stream while farming Master Grasp. So it can drop stuff that looks similar to this. Very high, very spiky, and you can use a ghost mod to try to focus that one specific stat that you're looking for and hope for the best. It's also extremely easy to farm, so if you're an endgame player and you know how to run dungeons, this is definitely going to be the best route possible, because that extra Artifice slot is going to give you 3 more points per armor piece to round out your stats, and that's going to be really helpful in Edge of Fate. And how easy is it, you're asking? Well, you bring 1 Warlock to bring the Well of Radiance, and then 2 other characters of whatever you want to choose. Slap on 3 Queenbreakers with Particle Reconstruction to get the debuff and the reloading ammo, and then this happens. Yeah, the boss gets bullied so hard, he's currently applying for a job at Quiznos instead of being the boss of this dungeon anymore. A few more small tips if you want to maximize your time. First, try to bring a Titan if you can. If you do have a Titan, then make them Thunder Crash the 2 yellow bars at the beginning, as they're a little annoying to deal with, and they start running around and wasting your time and all of that. T-Crash just says F you and they're dead. Then after that, make sure you have a fusion rifle. Since you're using Particle, you might as well take advantage of that with a fusion rifle to just melt down the champions. You can either kill them in like 3 shots instantly, like I'm doing on spawn, or if they don't die, then you just whip out a Tanasha's or any other sidearm, hit them once with a rocket sidearm, that breaks their shield, then you finish them off and proceed as normal. Speaking of sidearms, if anybody has a Tanasha's Mastery sidearm on, be sure to hit the boss with it if you have somebody on Prismatic for your fire team. That way they can get the bonus from Facet of Courage to do bonus damage with their Nighthawk or their damage in a well, etc. But that is it for this one. Good luck farming your legendary armor out there in time for Edge of Fate if you're a build crafter. I'll also have a follow-up video for illegal exotic armor rolls and how to efficiently try to farm that, so stay tuned for that if you're interested. Other than that, if you did enjoy the video, please consider subscribing today. It does help the channel grow and is much appreciated. If you want to go the extra mile, you can leave a like and or comment below as well. If you don't know what to leave as a comment, you could leave Artifice as the comment. Thanks for watching. Catch you next time.